when the FBI director says that the Secretary of State was extremely careless and negligent in handling our classified secrets. I also know that these terms are minor compared to what she actually did.
Hey everyone, how's it going? What I want to do is show you a diagram that I came up with to help explain some of the relationship between the deep state and the United States government. So you have the US government over here. Next to it, you have the Federal Reserve. Okay. The Federal Reserve creates a lending system between the United States government and the Federal Reserve, where you can think about it in the form of sending $1 trillion and then receiving, the Federal Reserve that is, say $1 trillion plus 6%. So it creates this negative feedback loop where the Federal Reserve issues the same amount of money, the same amount of debt that the US government has to pay back, but it adds to the debt every time that it increases. The US government then buys buys those bonds, then the feds distribute the money to banks. So over here you have the banking system, where the Federal Reserve sends money to the banks. And the banks lend money to the US government. The US government pays the banks back. So in this example, we can show, they're sending $10 billion and they're paying back $10 billion plus 2%. Okay? So it creates that feedback loop where the amount of debt that the government owes to the banks increases and the amount of debt that the government owes to the Federal Reserve increases. The US government is in debt to the banks right now. And that's what the system is built on. And so the Federal Reserve issues money to the banks, and the banks then distribute the money else. What you have here ultimately is this feedback loop. And so over here you have people, you have business, you have law and justice / legal. So the people receive money from the banks and the people pay back that money. So say you offer 10K. Notice how the figures go down as you go through the line. We skipped million because people don't deserve millions. And the people have to pay back, 10K plus 20% or 29%. Creates a feedback loop where the people become in debt to the banks. So the government is in debt to the banks and the Federal Reserve, and the people are in debt to the banks. Businesses, exactly the same. Nothing's changed. Banks lend the businesses money. Businesses instead have a different tax rate. So they borrow $1 billion and they receive $1 billion back. Creates this feedback loop in exchange for the next form of currency, which is power. I will describe power with a large red dot. Power. Because power from the banks, from the businesses, to the banks. So the businesses empower the banks, is what this statement says. Then the businesses have their own forms of distributing out to the public, and then the public paying them back. This is the cost of inflation. So the business, it only costs the business, 25 cents or $25 to make, and the public pays back $200. And so the people become in debt to the business. The scale changes. As you go down the line, when you get closer to the bottom, the amount that you have to gain increases. So you can see here that there's a 6% of the Federal Reserve that the US government has to pay. And then the rates on the banks to the US government, they range 2 to 3% per year. Housing interest rates are around 3 to 4. Those are the rates that they talk about. And then the people receive rates that are sometimes 20%, sometimes 30% on credit cards, on loans, student loans, etc. And they become in this form of debt. And so every time that this cycle happens, more debt is added always. And so what happens is this creates a massive debt bubble across the entirety of our money supply, where the cost of doing anything simply cannot be done with any reasonable means, because the debt is going to collapse on everything. It's 2-to-1 debt ratio right now. So let me connect this entire story with my connection to Vault 7 and the deep state, because there is a direct correlation here with the deep state. So I hope this blue marker works. So I'm going to put the deep state over here. So deep state. The deep state trades in the forms of federal money and in the form of Fed money. So Fed money is the Federal Reserve, which is a private corporation, giving money to the deep state. $10 trillion to the deep state. Gives the US $1 trillion, gives the deep state $10 trillion. The feds are at the entire agenda of the deep state because that's the most return that they're going to get. The deep state has these financial arrangements with the US government, where the US government pays the deep state, and the deep state provides power. Provide power. Remember, power is represented by this thick red circle. They give power to the US government, which include mass surveillance. And in exchange, the US government pays back not only in money, but more than money, which include Pizzagate. The spy system. World wars. It's all part of the puzzle. They provide influence. They provide power to people. Give them a name, give them a brand, give them power. In exchange, they get their tokens. They can use the spy system. They can have it created. And they can use it against these people in power. And that's exactly what we're seeing happen. So, you look at the deep state and this relationship with the feds and the fact that they are the feds. The people that run the Federal Reserve are probably the same people that are controlling the shots with the deep state. You look at how the US government interacts with other countries. With these other countries, the US is trading in money to them. But our money isn't worth anything. So the US is giving these countries money, and then they give the US money minus some value. Because that's playing with the inflation rates of Forex currencies. So going back to the blue, so the US government gives power to these people. So their influence from the deep state give power to other countries. And then other countries are then able to exert their own form of power back onto the US government. Here's a wild theory. So I want to extend this one step further. And I'm going to use a black marker to do this. So the prospect of alien life existing or possibly being disclosed this year is something that a lot of people like to fear talking about, because you instantly get classified as somebody who is a complete lunatic when it comes to conspiracy theories. But when you think about it, there's actually a good reason that disclosure is actually going to happen this year. So here's my take on it. So aliens come in from outer space, okay? All of a sudden, you have this currency that is traded, and that is 0-point energy, okay? Right now, the entirety of the currency system is based on oil. It's based on oil. Aliens have 0-point energy. They come in. Then what happens is the deep state starts interacting with them. The deep state receives the 0-point energy. And the deep state kills any of the aliens that oppose them. Anyone who doesn't want non-disclosure. If an alien wants to disclose, the CIA, the deep state really clamps down and prevents it from happening. So this relationship here shows that there is a 0-point energy technology that theoretically these aliens have, and that will be getting released to the public. They were mentioned in the Podesta emails by WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, and there is some legitimacy to this, because we've had high-ranking members of the Canadian government talk about this. We've had a lot of former astronauts talk about this type of stuff. 0-point energy is a thing, and disclosing it to the world is going to deal with a huge factor. So I want to take a step further, because the world operates in the form of oil right now, because that's what's dictating our world wars. It's the reason why we're in the Middle East in the first place, so that we can build an oil pipeline. We're having major issues with climate change and all of these really systemic problems that are existing that we have. Let's take a step back and think about when this was happening. It was in the 40s, okay? In the 40s, they had an incredible ability to use their physical strength, power, money, and force to silence people into never speaking about anything about alien life to the public. And so they didn't have technology back then. Nothing could go viral. You couldn't just go browse information about people that may or may not have dealt with aliens. These people would disappear all over the place as a result of these programs. And so what you had was this entire cover-up of the alien discovery from the people who control the deep state, who control and are the Fed, the recipients of the Federal Reserve at 6%, the recipients of people, the shareholders of the Federal Reserve. Who pulls the strings? How much of David Rockefeller is in that group? How much is the Rothschilds in that group? How much is Soros in that group? Bill Gates? How much are those people in that group? Then they start moving and pulling the strings. How much is Saudi Arabia in that group? What about Israel? Yeah, it's starting to look very, very tantalizing, isn't it? And so it would create a system where the larger group of elites that don't have borders control the United States government and force it into a relationship of debt so that it can never pay back what it owes to the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve uses its deep state for terrorist attacks, it uses it for creating war, it uses it for suppressing alien technology so that we can deal with climate change. And instead, it collects blackmail on politicians using pedophilia as the cover story. So the politician stays quiet, they don't do anything about it, they don't ever go after it, they don't ever take the case, they always drop it immediately because it's a terrifying thing to deal with. This is what we have right here. I think this type of system makes the most logical sense at this point in time. And the answer to it, quite simply, is that if we really want to understand alien technology and alien life, where we bring zero-point energy, and we take out the debt, and we take out the debt, we take out the debt, we take out this, what happens ultimately is we're going to take out Pizzagate, we're going to take out mass surveillance, we're going to take out the world wars, we're going to discover aliens, that's what we're going to gain from it. And we're going to lose the deep state. This is everything. This is Saudi Arabia plus CIA. That's what this is. That's what this is. Okay? Over here, Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderberg Group, Trilateral Council. This is the organism that's operating. Tell me what your thoughts are about this. This blew my mind. It just came to me. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you like this. Make sure to click on the notification bell because this channel does get censored, and for that notion, I have actually demonetized my entire channel, so I encourage you to go to michaeltrimshow.com/join. Consider becoming a paid member. Subscriptions start at just $5, and you can pay with Bitcoin. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day.